Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre. This is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is Sparta!
All your bases are belong to us.
It's a trap 9000!
Stop collecting all of us. Leave Benny alone!
Leroy Dragon!
Objection!
The balls are inert.
Time to sedan.
And now it begins.
Hello and welcome to Nerd to Know Media FM on Phoenix FM. Thank you for tuning in or indeed listening on Spotify. My name is Kieran Calcon and I am joined by my wonderful co-hosts. Say your names there, guys.
Darragh O'Connor.
And Bryn O'Rourke.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. And it's been a busy week. We've had the San Diego Comic-Con, which I believe, would it be fair to call that kind of like nerd Christmas this time of year? Everything coming out at once?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue, but I'm trying to name any other period that would be nerd Christmas more than this now, at this point.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you either know loads about it or you don't, and then you're just kind of sitting back going, "Oh my god, there's so much to take in here." So it's definitely interesting, and like I think it's fair to say that this is just like Marvel just decimated this compared to like the guys from Game of Thrones didn't even turn up. They're like, nah, we're done here. DC.
Game of Thrones also finished.
Yeah, but you know,
which also helps.
Apparently, though, when Game of Thrones was mentioned, there was booze, so it's kind of a good idea.
Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it didn't end great, so I mean, I would argue that they deserved it.
Yeah, true.
Personally.
Still, though, you're just like, they tried. You know, they tried and they failed.
They tried and it wasn't good.
Yeah. But you know, what are you guys looking for in Comic-Con every year? Like for me, when I'm sitting there, it's less about comics now because, like, you know, even in the comic conventions here, like nobody really kind of goes to the comics. Well, except because I only know that because if I ever want to get away from people or if I want to go look at comics, I just go over to the comic book section.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of like, you know, doing everything else. What elements are you looking for?
Oh, for me, it's so you go on first there. Sorry.
I would say for me, it's a mixture between seeing what panels show up and like for San Diego, the trailers. You know, would be the big thing. Seeing what's actually like coming attractions are coming up.
Yeah, the trailers is a good point because it's a good barometer not only for what's coming up in the next year, but what people are interested in seeing based on the reactions both in the room and online. Would that be fair to say? Totally
would. But I think because I mean it's not just like a case of seeing stuff like the Marvel films that we'll absolutely get into, but like you know, almost anything that's like big in the sci-fi and fantasy genre in film, you'll see stuff there. Like my personal favorite show on TV right now is The Expanse, and they had their trailer for 4 come out, and I cannot be more pumped to see that. You know, like I mean, like that's the kind of way that that's one of those things that I just always look forward to because you know you see stuff that you want to see, but you also get surprises as well, which is nice.
And you get to see the actors and writers talking about it, which is nice in and of itself, right?
Yeah, but that's the panels. Like that's the panel side of it, which is great. And you know, even though I don't think it's like something we should support, I think seeing bootlegs and stuff like that on YouTube is always a nice thing too.
Yeah, it is nice, and it is just even going by what pops up every year at Comic-Con. You mentioned Game of Thrones not being there this year. It's a good barometer as well for what's current and kind of what's dominating the kind of media scene and everything like that. Like last year, there was no Star Wars films announced, and you could feel it. Like it was just the 2 cartoon announcements, I think.
Yeah, and look, and it's not only that kind of stuff as well. It's kind of like building up the hype machine. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, Comic-Con is only you know, it's only there to kind of watch some trailers or something as well. But I think it is what it is, you know, like, personally, I'd rather go to something a bit more local than going all the way out to San Diego to see it.
Also, it's hot there.
It is. So it's hot here too. So, it used not to be hot here, and back in my day it was great, but now it's them newfangled global warming.
Speaking of someone who's a skin cancer risk, I don't like the heat.
These kids with their global warming and their smartphones.
Exactly.
Their Sega Mega Drives.
Hey, you leave the Sega Mega Drive alone. It ain't doing nothing.
3 weeks ago we were talking about the merits of MP3 players, and now we're on to this.
It's funny, right? So, kind of switching gears back into the Comic-Con side of things. I wasn't underwhelmed looking at the slate. When Phase 4 was announced, it was like, okay, that's cool. One or two things kind of caught me off guard there. Bryn, what were you excited about when you saw the slate 4 for Phase 4?
The main thing was seeing Blade. It's one of those things where, because I was just never really sure if it was something that Disney would commit to. It's in the same way of going, well, are they really going to commit to Deadpool now that they own the property again? Are they going to really commit to it? And the fact that they're doing Blade is a really strong indication of the presence of R-rated characters in...
Well, Blade is going to be PG-13.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It is going to be PG-13, so...
Yeah.
That's very generous from Disney, though.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? And Disney,
they're big on their family-friendly stuff.
But they've always had different studios for stuff like Touchstone and stuff like that to be able to kind of, pursue that. But listen, here's what, look, I'm a fan of Blade. I love Blade. I love the first two Blade movies. I even like Blade Trinity, alright? I don't hate it. But
that's because Triple H is in it.
Yeah, obviously. And because, Ryan Reynolds is in it, and it's not a bad movie. But...
it's not a good movie either.
I never said it was a good movie. I never said it was a good movie. I just said it wasn't a bad movie. There's far worse things I'd sit down and watch, like Black Panther, than sit down and watch Blade.
If you're gonna say Blade Trinity is better than Black Panther, we're starting off the controversy early this week.
Anything is better than Black Panther. A porn parody of. The Room is better than Black Panther.
I genuinely felt that you were going to say a porn parody of Black Panther is better than the actual Black Panther.
Well, probably. I haven't seen it, but I'm just anything's better than Black Panther. They can at me if you want to.
There's a lot of Marvel stuff to cover. I'm just going to put a pin in that unless we've got 10 minutes at the end. I do want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay.
But guys, what I'm going to do is...
I was going somewhere. I was going somewhere.
Okay, my bad.
Just on, as far as Blade goes, right? There's one thing I want to see from this movie, and once they do this, I'll be 100% in. Blade has to open up with a blood rave.
I did see you post this on Facebook, I believe. Yeah.
It has to. I know it's it's 90s, but you could do it like a flashback, where the 90s, and then just have Wesley Snipes the age doing it, and then have the new guy in it, or even have the new guy doing it, and awesome, because I think that would be really cool and add depth to the character that he's been around since the 90s, and they didn't even have a flash of Captain Marvel in the back or something,
At the blood rave.
No, on the
Captain Marvel on her night out.
No, on the TV screen or something like that, where it's just they can figure out ways to do it, but
Coulson will be there.
This is what I want. Coulson there. He's
in a Hawaiian shirt.
I don't know, but
on this holiday from Tahiti.
All I'm saying is, if they did that,
it's a wonderful place.
I would be like, this is the best Marvel movie ever.
Somehow I don't see that happening in the PG-13 Blade.
Well, why not? It's about vampires, man. The kids don't need to know what it is. I watched Blade when I was 10. I missed the entire part of that movie when I was just like, this movie's awesome. And then I went back and watched it as an adult, and I'm like, oh, I should have seen this when I was 10.
Yeah. Watch any modern day PG-13 film and tell me if it's oh yeah, I could totally see them accepting sprinkler systems of blood going off. That'll be happening a PG-13 film in time.
Actually, on that, what do we think of the casting? Mahershala Ali is now the new Blade. Have you seen him in other films before?
I've seen him in Blade. when he played it in what was it? Was it Luke Cage or Daredevil? I can't remember.
Oh, he played the villain in Luke Cage Series 1.
Yes. He was very good in that.
And like, I think he's fresh off an Oscar nomination for Green Book, unless I'm mistaken. So Marvel are kind of really flexing their muscles as far as clout goes.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like when I saw that, I was kind of like, oh well, he seems like a good lad, but why did he just get Wesley Snipes? But still,
have you brought up Blade Trinity? Have you like heard the stories of the making of Blade Trinity?
Man, look, people have to suffer. People have to suffer for the art. You know what I mean? It just is what it is.
Listen to Patton Oswalt's stories. Like he wouldn't come out of his trailer unless you called him Blade, and even when he did, like a huge cloud of weed smoke would follow him out of his trailer. But like half the shots of him in the movie are his stunt double shot from funny angles.
Just say, man. Nice Blade.
I get you. I do love Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes is a great guy once you get past all the racism.
I'm sorry. Wesley Snipes is in like one of my favorite movies of all time, so I am going to defend the guy. And like
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man, yeah. The only thing that could beat Wesley Snipes is taxes, and it did. So
That and Sylvester Stallone.
No, John Spartan.
Yeah.
Spartan, remember?
Well, Sylvester Stallone's in the MCU now as well. He's in the older Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, actually, there you go. What you could have is him fight Wesley Snipes in like an alternate universe. This would be great.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. Anyway, sorry.
You've brought up the perfect talking point, because what I want to do is I want to say the next bunch of Marvel things coming out over the next 2 years, and I'd love to hear you guys' speculations or even your wish list for things you'd like to see in them. We have, in 2020, we have Black Widow, Eternals, the TV shows WandaVision, Loki, and Hawkeye and Falcon and Winter Soldier, all on Disney Plus, their streaming service. Then in 2021, we have the movies Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness, the TV show What If, and Thor, Love and Thunder. So, what are you guys most excited about from that batch of things?
The Blood Rain.
Doctor Strange.
No, seriousness, I agree with Bryn there, Doctor Strange.
Yeah. The one thing that, the more I keep kind of going through that list, the more that it strikes me that how much of it is like the magic and horror side of Marvel's catalog, and how much Black Widow, as the idea that everyone keeps going with is that it's going to be a prequel, how much sticks out.
It's Taskmaster. He's the villain in it.
Yeah, so he's supposed to be the villain in it. Is that true?
Correct, yeah. And here's the reason why, Bryn, is because, like, Marvel had to kind of do this. When you go super big to the point that the entire world is blipped, the entire universe, half the entire universe is blipped out, what are you going to do? Like, they can't really just bring in Galactus and be like, oh, here we go, because that'll just tire everybody out. It's like a good wrestling match, you need to have a cooldown spot. So this is like the cooldown period when everybody goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone goes out to get hot dogs and chills out and stuff, and then you build it back up. Yeah. So
it's the Divas match.
Exactly, it's the Divas match. Yeah.
It's the mid-decade Divas match.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why everyone's kind of like. I think a lot of the movies on that slate you can kind of skip. A lot of those movies I would say would be kind of like the main difference here is all the way up until Endgame. There's an argument to be made that you could not miss any of the movies, right? Now, whether that's right or wrong, it's still kind of like the rule of thumb. Now I think it's kind of, well, a lot of these movies, there are events, but
are going to be a bit more standalone-ish.
Yeah, but not only that as well. It's also like, oh, hey, look, you didn't catch it. Well, don't worry about it. Here's something on Disney Plus, and we'll have these movies as well for you at your convenience. So I think maybe that's kind of the bit of the direction. And in Phase 5, that's when you'll start the big event movies. But I think Disney are going to start using the streaming service more as a hammer than as a scalpel.
I think that's a fair point. I should point out that not on the slate, but what's in development further down the line is Fantastic Four, X-Men, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, and Guardians 3. So I think you're right. They may be keeping their big hitters, apart from Thor, in their back pocket to let the streaming service get some momentum, and then they'll bring in those bigger ones.
Yeah.
Also, they've already wrapped Spider-Man 3, so that's going to come out at some point.
Have they?
Yeah.
Holy moly, they don't hang around.
Yeah, because Tom Holland let it slip in an interview.
As he does.
They shouldn't tell him anything.
They don't.
He shouldn't be allowed to tell people things. He shouldn't be allowed to do media.
Oh god. Anyway,
having said that, it's a very Peter Parker thing to do, so I quite like it in that way.
That's very true. That's very
It is.
are you guys excited to see Taskmaster in
Oh, so excited.
Yep. But Taskmaster is awesome.
He is underutilized, in media in general, except in the cartoons where he's been a mainstay since 1998, which is crazy. But I'm looking forward to it. The Black Widow thing, I think it's kind of silly now at this point. But whatever.
I think it's fair though, because she was the of all the characters who didn't make it out of Endgame, she didn't kind of get her moment on the way out. So I think fair enough. They could do something nice.
The one thing I was going to say, sorry to cut across, but the one thing I was going to say, Black Widow was again in the confines of what they've announced, everything seems to be very magic based, and it just made me kind of get this.
Everything right there?
No, is he gone? Has he been dead?
Oh, he's even blipped.
He's alright. Don't worry. Guys, we have technical issues throughout this podcast. But
How would you feel that could always happen?
Oh, welcome back. You blipped there.
Oh no, not again.
We've aged 5 years. Okay. We've aged 5 years. This is a different show altogether.
No, this is the same show. We've been doing it all this time, waiting for you to come back.
Oh, it's like that episode of Angry Beavers all over again.
Oh, nostalgia. Okay, guys, so before technical issues come in, the Eternals is on the slate. This is something I actually know nothing about. Are you familiar with the Eternals?
Yeah, basically they're... see, even people who read comics don't know what the Eternals are. Basically, they're cosmic F-ups, right? They're these super-powered god characters that aren't god characters but are the root of all mutants. That's putting it very dumbed down. I've upset a lot of people by putting it that way, but that's the best way to put it forward. It's the only way that makes sense. The Eternals is...
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Weren't the Inhumans the root of the mutants?
Exactly. That's where the confusion comes from, because I think one was written before the other.
Right. Well, I think they kind of dropped the ball with the Inhumans, so I think a do-over is appropriate.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's tied more to Silver Surfer and towards Galactus and those kind of characters as well. The Eternals is more cosmic than the Inhumans. The Inhumans were kind of like a more human side of things, ironically enough. So that's
they had the kind of Shakespearean quality to them.
Exactly, and it does kind of tie up to the, well, where can we go? Well, let's go all the way up, and then what's it now? Well, we had Thanos, so yeah.
Who else we got?
Exactly, yeah. So I'm just trying to think, trying to map out the Marvel cosmic universe.
Secret War.
Well, see, that's the thing. In order to get there, you have to really kind of go deep, and you have to go this deep now. So before you bring in something like Beyonder, and that, you really have to, get your ducks in a row. So that's what we're trying to do here. But mapping out the Marvel cosmic universe is beyond the scope of this show. We might do it in the future, but we don't get paid enough for that.
Not for lack of trying, though.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of everything I had from Comic-Con Marvel side of things. I was interested to see the Terminator stuff, but I don't know. Are you guys checked out the Terminator universe now, or?
I've been stung too many times.
Yeah.
It's I love it.
Right.
It was my favorite franchise as a teenager. I love it to bits. Love the TV show. Love the first 2, maybe 3 movies. But I feel like it's obvious, even as a casual viewer, that they have no plan. It's very much throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks. When you add time travel into that, it gets messy very quickly.
Yeah.
For me, one thing that comes from being so burned is I go, it's still turning out better than Alien, So
I'd fight in the Alien prequels corner. It's when I watch that, I don't get it, but I feel like at least the people making it get it.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, there's only been 2 good Alien films, and everything has been utter trash.
I didn't see Aliens until like last year.
How?
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Do you not have a television at 2 a.m. around Christmas?
I just never got around to it. I was just like,
that's such an oddly inaccurate time to watch Aliens.
I just never got around to it. And then when I was watching it, I was like, man, this movie's really, really good. So yeah.
It's James Cameron on peak form. Like, he's just taken, like, it shouldn't work. He's just taken what he did with Terminator and adds it to Alien 1, and somehow it's amazing.
The man just knows what he's doing, except for Terminator and the last part of Titanic.
To be fair, the Terminator ones he's been attached to have been good.
Wait, sorry, I meant Avatar.
Oh,
Avatar.
do you mean Avatar? Okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Avatar?
Ooh, like, I have to say, what's your woman's name? Jenny Nicholson? She's on YouTube.
Yes.
I love Jenny Nicholson. She's like my favorite person online. And she does a review of the most random things, but she does a review of the Avatar world in Disney, and I'm like, that's insane that exists. So, as crazy as
I watched that too, yeah.
That's my view on Avatar. Like, I don't get it, but I'm glad that exists for her review of it. So.
It's funny you bring it up, because I believe, not to like steer too far back into the Marvel, but I believe Endgame finally dethroned it at the weekend, didn't it, as far as the top box office earner?
Yeah,
just pipped it at the post.
Yeah, they had to kind of force it out there, and it's like, come on, you're going to do this and like it, and that's kind of what happened.
There's a great thing I saw as a Reddit post where someone asked the questions, why doesn't Disney just release Avatar again? So that it could be Avengers, and then release Avengers again, so it could be an Avatar, and just do that until the end of time.
Adding 10 minutes onto it every single time.
Basically, yeah.
But see, like, the thing about it is, like, apparently there's like 4 Avatar movies coming out, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to see any of those?
You'd be amazed. There was a thing. There was actually a phenomenon called Pandora syndrome back when the film came out the first time around, and people were so in love with the idea of Pandora, the world, that they'd go to the cinema every day, every week, whatever, to sort of live out that fantasy. So, I mean, I would say Avatar 2, at the very least, will do gangbusters at the box office. Like, just if that crowd goes and supports it every single week.
I don't know. Like, it just seems that these people could do anything else. They could go outside, ride a bike,
But you could say that about any nerd thing, though.
That's true. But like, of all the nerd things, Avatar just strikes me as.
I get you. I don't get it personally.
Like,
it just comes across so shallow.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when I saw it in the cinema, I was like, okay, wow, this is visually amazing, and it's technological marvel. But I've never watched that movie again, ever, and I never want to.
No, it's not a bad movie, in fairness.
No, it's not. It's just like, I felt like, it's like, okay, I have seen this now, and that is enough for me. And that's kind of it. And it's like, I thought we said everything we need to say the first time, That
is fair. It's a well-made movie, but it's not like Star Wars, where you see that original Star Wars movie and you want to see more and what happens next. It doesn't seem like there's much room for growth into a second Avatar.
Go see some of those virtual reality rides, and you're like, this is really fun while you're there, but you're never like, oh, I need to see it again, or I need to see more of that. Like, it's just doesn't have that same kind of
kick
aspect to it.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the biggest thing for me. I was tempted to go back and watch it recently, and then I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, because although apparently that said, the game that came out, which I think 4 people remember, is apparently really decent. So I might buy that and never play it and just go, yeah, apparently that game's a good game. But you know,
I think I have it here somewhere. Apparently, it has alternate endings and stuff. It seemed like they did kind of put the work in.
Yeah, for, the review I saw on YouTube, the guy was like, "Yeah, this is actually a surprisingly good game." And it's like, "Oh well, all right." So, you know
what? From being a backseat gamer on it, I'd say it's comparable to the Revenge of the Sith game of that time,
I like
that
Revenge of the Sith game. That's actually a very fun game. No, it's not by today's standards. It's atrocious, but I
would even say by Star Wars standards, it's not that great.
But by the standards of games based on movies, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, right? Back in 2005, yeah, I would totally agree with you that it was a poor Star Wars game. But now, based on the Star Wars games that we've had since the Disney buyout, it's better than Star Wars Dancing. It's better than Battlefield 1.
I feel like we need to ring a little bell every time we've sort of somehow ended up talking about the lack of Star Wars games in every episode.
I think
somehow keeps ending up back here.
There's a theme. It's just like, give us what we want, Disney.
It's a worthy of discussion, but I have been noticing.
Fair. Okay, so where are we going now, King?
Okay, just because we've covered all the Marvel stuff, but I just wanted to very, very quickly touch on Thor in particular. Thor will be directed again. Thor Love and Thunder will be directed by Taika Waititi and will apparently feature Natalie Portman returning not only as Jane Foster, but as the female Thor. Are you guys excited for that? Can you see that working in a... Because I know last week you bemoaned that Thor Ragnarok demolished the Thor movies you liked, so I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Do you really want to, or do you want me to get upset again?
if
at least you're
emotionally prepared.
Okay, right. Okay, look. Okay, well, let's start with the good, right?
Right.
Thor's hammer's back. Okay. I like Natalie Portman. I like her as Jane Foster. Right? I like the Jane Foster character, right? That's about everything else that could possibly go wrong went wrong. They're focusing more on Valkyrie, which is a terrible idea. They're focusing on Taika, that director, his vision. That's also
I quite like Taika Waititi's take on Thor.
I liked half of it. We talked about it last week, but I was kind of like, hoping we were getting more of Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing instead of, whatever this is going to be. I've read Female Thor. Like, I actually read the comic book run, and some people are going, they're adapting modern Marvel, which, if they adapt too much modern Marvel, that's a really bad idea in my opinion. Because modern Marvel is not very good, with the exception of some things, like Spider-Man runs are still pretty good, but, I actually read the entire Lady Thor run, and they need a really good writer. They to make this work, because by itself, it's not very entertaining. It's not very good. It's just kind of lame. You have Thor moping around. Have you guys read this run of the comics? Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm afraid I haven't. No.
Yeah, it's not very good, King. Like, you have Thor pretty much, who's known as Odin's son, moping around in the back until he's worthy again, and Jane gets cancer, and it's like, what is this?
One of the biggest problems I had with that run, I have no problem with the idea of them, because I know a lot of people were really upset that they made Thor into a woman. It's like, well,
but Thor,
that's a story that can be.
Thor changing is not an unusual thing.
No, and that's not what I'm annoyed about. I'm more annoyed
about. That's not what you're saying. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, that wasn't because I kind of went in going, okay, so how is this going to be done? And I liked how it was handled, but, like, broadly speaking, but the way they handled Thor being unworthy. Like, I didn't like, because it's going like, but his worthiness, it doesn't come from his self-worth.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying to you. Like, in order to do this story well, it requires an awful lot more gravitas than I think.
Also, the MCU can't do the self-worth thing, because it would technically be a lore break in the confines of the story they told in Endgame.
Okay, so you're listening to the podcast and you're wondering, well, what if I want to listen live and I'm not in Ireland? Well, don't worry, go over to www.nerdtoknowmedia.com. On the webpage at the bottom, there is a link to the Phoenix FM stream. Check out the details of the show you want to listen to, and you'll be able to catch us live. Don't forget to tweet in nerd2, the number 2, no 92.5, or of course you can contact us via the contact tab on the website over on nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
Yeah, and also because the reason why it goes back to a really silly thing is original sin, which doesn't exist in the Marvel universe, in the MCU. So it's like, what are you gonna do unless Thor's like peace out or dies or something? You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, he's the story they're trying to tell with him now is that he's going off to find himself.
Yeah,
so he could just be so that he could go you know, like Jane, you have to find the greatness in yourself and kind of do that kind of a story, and that could be good.
Yeah, like,
you know?
I'm not upset about it, and there's lots of people screaming online going, "Oh, they're SJW things," and I'm just like, guys, stop. It's not like that at all. It's just, you know. Look,
people call anything that isn't white or male SJW now.
Here's the thing, though, right? If it was a diversity thing where they're like, oh, it's like, no, it makes sense. Like, Jane came back to do something, you know, and now Thor is basically off, as you said, to find himself. It's a totally different dynamic. In the comic book, okay, I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you to an extent there. It was very poorly handled, but that wasn't done for the diversity points. That was just done because, you know, whoever's...
It was an interesting story to do.
It was.
And like, there were elements of it that were... Yeah, but even then, there were still elements that were done that were like... I felt they were done quite well, like Jane having cancer and it kind of becoming Thor, making her both better and worse.
Yeah,
I really like.
What I did like about the story is that she really doesn't like being Thor, and it's kind of like One Punch Man. She's like, I just want to go now. And she has So, you know, if they kind of go, like, obviously I don't think they're going to expect to give her cancer, because that's pretty... Well, actually, hold on. Star-Lord's mom did die of cancer, so...
Sure, Doctor Strange has wrecked his hands and everything. They've gone different directions before.
They could do that. Now, do I think there's a better way to tell the story? Yeah, kind of.
I don't think it needs that narrative shorthand.
No, it doesn't.
To be honest.
No, I don't think so.
But again, they can also just say like that she's just physically wrecked from what happened in the Dark World.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a fair point. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that's true. Actually, yeah, she might need it to kind of regenerate and that. But
she did carry an Infinity Stone. Yeah,
actually, that's true. So look, you know, I'm gonna say here cautiously optimistic, just kind of frustrated at the reaction to it, and that's why I was kind of groaning at the beginning because I'm like, oh god, you know. I've heard so much belly aching from people. I'm like, way to go, guys, making us look like the most stereotypical people in the world. Fantastic.
Exactly, and sure, it allows Thor, because Guardians 3 isn't on a slate. If she takes the hammer, it allows Thor to go off and just be a guy in Guardians of the Galaxy.
But he's still a god. That's the thing. You know, like they've.
I know, but he isn't burdened with the responsibility or anything like that. You know,
it's a little bit different than, you know, when what was it, Drake Blake, or I can't remember his full name.
Don Blake.
Don Blake, that's it. It's not like that where, you know, he gets the power of Thor. It's more like Thor in the MCU is actually the god of thunder, you know, but he's not burdened by, you know, the task, which is cool, you know. And I think that will probably open up maybe to hanging out with Loki and doing stuff there as well. So, you know, to be fair, you know, Marvel need to do these things to kind of bring it back down to earth. In a way, because they went so big so fast that anything bigger than that just makes it look ridiculous. So I think they're like laying out going, right, well, what can we do? Now here's the thing, if you get a Squirrel Girl movie, that's silly. A Miss Marvel movie, you know, why now? Maybe in a couple of years.
I could see the Great Lakes Avengers were the Disney Plus thing, like a little irreverent offbeat thing.
Exactly, that's where I was going. Those kind of things are too small. And they would be great as Disney Plus thing, but you know, I think the days of big, earth-shattering galactic conflicts are kind of like on hold for the next 3 years, and then we'll get the big one. So yeah, man, I agree with you 100%, Kane. I think having the Great Lake Avengers and having like the Young Avengers, they can all be done on Disney Plus, and I think that's the perfect avenue for them because they're inconsequential, but still fun. But Disney have to be very, very careful here that they don't put the carriage before the horse and throw it all
Do
away.
what they did with Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the risk. There's too much Star Wars. I never thought I'd say this. Too much Star Wars is a bad thing. Too much Marvel's a bad thing. Too much anything is a bad thing. So,
well, I mean, that's the thing as well. So you're also seeing, like, I mean, year by year, the burnout people are feeling from these films is growing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that at some point there is going to be the slip. I don't know if I don't think it'll kill the subgenre, but I definitely think that'll kind of affect how they're handled in the future. Because
that's very true. But looking at the movies on their own merits, this is not kind of Disney Plus things. We have Black Widow, which is kind of a spy thing. Eternals, which is sort of spacey, Guardians of the Galaxy. Shang-Chi, presumably a sort of martial arts thing. Thor, which is Thor. Yeah. And Doctor Strange, which before we started recording this, will be a horror movie, apparently.
Yeah, it's going to be the first Marvel movie to be a straight-up horror movie.
That is intriguing, and apparently the Scarlet Witch is going to be in that one as well. So, like, yeah, I'm on board for that.
Like, my thing is, looking back at this and going, right, this is what we need to do. This is where we're going. It's like everything needs to be kept interesting. And Marvel, as I said, they have FU money now, so they can kind of be like, right, we don't need just to have your basic Marvel story where people expect it. It's more like we have enough capital, enough goodwill to kind of tell whatever story we want, and it's great to see that. It means that the envelope can be pushed, and we can get bigger and bigger stories, and we get smaller and smaller stories, and then that seems to kind of get that nice little ebb and flow, the nice little rest spot before you go to another main event. I think that they learned that during this run, during Phase 2, when Avengers 2 came out, and everyone was like, oh god, this is another kind of thing, and then Iron Man 3 came out, and people were like, what's going on here? And it was just kind of a lot of questions. It's like, okay, so New York or whatever's been attacked, where was this, that, and the other? Iron Man's been attacked. By making it smaller in scope, it kind of takes a lot of the pressure away, and kind of pulls your attention away from the fact that, well, we don't have Iron Man anymore. We don't have Captain America anymore, because they're not needed now, right? Well, in most people's, they would be. Like, if they went and did an Avengers tomorrow, let's say.
No, but the success of the world and the franchises isn't on their shoulders.
No, but what I mean is, if there was an Avenger movie, even in 2 years, right, it still wouldn't have that emotional center. Like, who's going to be the face of the Avengers? Spider-Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel. They haven't earned enough there to really be that yet. They're not there in their character.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's fair.
So the stories they're telling with them don't really lend themselves to being those kind of principal characters either.
And that's what Marvel's doing now. They're kind of expanding out their scope, and then letting it be filled with these characters. Here's the thing, right? Originally, Doctor Strange was supposed to be the linchpin of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? And I think that's where they're going with now, with this next phase, where they're going to make Doctor Strange the linchpin, and then he'll be able to hand it off to Reed Richards, maybe, in the Illuminati kind of thing, and that's probably the direction. But then again, you have characters like Captain Marvel, who's going to be a huge part of the MCU anyway. But I think having these linchpin characters right now, they don't exist because they're gone. So it makes sense to kind of take a break, take a debrief, build your next crop up, and there's no better way to do it than to tell these smaller stories, while at the same time going some really weird places. Because here's the thing, a lot of people are going, oh, all the Marvel movies are the same. I guarantee you, Blade and Thor: Love and Thunder are not going to be the same movie. Not by a long shot.
Would you be happy if Thor turned up at the Blood Rave at the start of Blade?
Oh man, look, once we get a Blood Rave, I don't care who's there. You know.
See, now I'm seeing that party in the middle of Age of
physical
Ultron where all the
running
Avengers are
blood.
hanging out, just, shooting the breeze at a blood rave.
Look, Marvel. Look, get Confusion by New Order on, or Blood is Pumping, right? There you go. So I'm gonna set the scene for you, right? Mid-90s, fade in, okay? Have a Coulson walking by or whatever, walking his dog, right? It goes into these two kind of ravers, this girl and the guy, and he's like, oh, come on, let's go in, and it starts just like Blade 1. They go in, and then it's the blood rave, and then the new orders blaring, and it's great. And then a de-aged Wesley Snipes shows up, or even the new guy shows up, and does the opening to Blade, and then there you go. Best Marvel movie ever. All the stars. I'd leave after that. I'd be like, man, done. Finished.
I was send off your CV to Marvel before David Goyer steals the franchise back. That's all I'm saying. You seem very passionate about Blade.
Listen, here's the thing. That's because Goyer wrote it. I'm just doing his idea better. It's just like, Marvel, if you want to send me a check, you know what the email address is, and so there you go.
Yeah, you can ask him.
Goyer will sue you.
You what?
And then Goyer will sue you.
No, it's a homage. It's fine.
Okay, so I know Marvel has monopolized the conversation in so much as it monopolized the Comic-Con. But were there any other franchises or films that jumped out? We've covered Terminator, we've covered Marvel. Certainly the only other thing I saw was the Watchmen trailer. Have you guys seen anything else?
I have no interest in where they're going with that. Everything just screams, danger, Will Robinson. I'm like, what are they doing? So, and I love Watchmen. I love Watchmen as a book. I love the animated version of it, which is great, narrated by Alan Moore. I really like the movie, but I'm like, it's kind of like what we were saying with Avatar. It's like, where else are you going to go? Is this going to be an allegory for modern day politics? Like, why? From what I'm seeing, that's kind of where they're going, and it's just like, that's not really the point of the book.
Yeah, it's also like trying to make it'd be like making a series off of The Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
you go, cool, but this is like a time capsule story at this point.
Yeah, and here's the thing: when they did actually make the Dark Knight Returns as an animated version, the Returns or Strikes Back, it was weird because it had that weird dissonance where I'm like, the world that this movie exists in doesn't exist anymore. We're so far away from it that all the heavy punches that this was talking about don't land.
And it's like, funnily enough, V for Vendetta, I feel like you could adapt in any era, and it would have something to say. Why do they keep going back to Watchmen?
V is more because it's more iconic.
Basically.
That's okay, that's fair.
It's more iconic to the people who haven't read it. That's the truth, right? And it's more easy to be like, oh, Watchmen's great because and then it is, but at the end of the day, I prefer V as a series and as an idea, but also and not as a comic book. As a comic book, actually, Watchmen is better. The movie for V is fantastic.
It's also like, the weird thing about that film is that it's like one of the best in name only adaptations I've ever seen.
It adapts the material perfectly to what we're talking about, which is it takes V for Vendetta and takes the material and applies it to Bush era kind of Iraq war politics.
But it's also fundamentally misunderstanding the character in a lot of ways, I would argue.
Yeah, and the thing with that
possibly, but in a 12's for general audience movie, I think they adapted the material as well as they could.
Yeah, but I would still what I would say. I wouldn't criticize. I wouldn't criticize what they did with the film. All I would say is you're talking about if you compare the books and how they were adapted. One was heavily adapted, almost to the point where it's almost detrimental to the quality of the film, and one kind of made a much more functioning film, even though it kind of just took the bits from the book that worked for the film, and not really.
Here's the reason why, guys. One was made by the Wachowskis. One was made by Zack Snyder. Right? The Wachowskis can make a great film now. To be fair, they haven't made loads of great films. I enjoy their work, I do, right, for different reasons. Matrix, fantastic. V from Dead is great.
Sense8 on Netflix is very good.
Sense8's really good as well. I enjoyed for what it was. Horribly misunderstood. What was it called again? Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, the Jupiter Ascending.
I enjoyed that as a Brazil parody. But you know, they know how to make a movie when they want to, right? When they have to, chips are down, they can. Zack Snyder can't really make a movie unless he's screen for screen adapting something, right? And we've seen this. 300's fantastic, but it's literally just he took every single panel and just went with it, right? Day to Dead actually is okay, right? That doesn't fit into there, but still. And then Watchmen, panel for panel, he just made it shot for shot with the ending changed. And that's the reason why. It's because you had a team of filmmakers who are actually able to make a film, take material, take bits out of it that they want to make it work. Zack Snyder can't do that. We've seen him try to do that, and he made Dawn of Justice. So
no, it's like the Watchmen film is gorgeous looking. It looks great, and if you took like say the chapter where Dr. Manhattan is on Mars on its own merits, it's great. I feel like he's either just great at the visual stuff or will be good at doing really short films.
No, dude, you hit it.
But give him something complicated, and he doesn't know where to keep the focus.
No, you hit it in one. He's an amazing. He's one of the best visual storytellers as far as shot for shot out of anybody. The difference is he doesn't know how to piece them together, so it just falls apart completely. Like, if he just made like some great, like as you said, like short little indie films with a massive budget, they'd be unreal. But give him an hour and a half or 3 hours. How long was Watchmen? Like 3 hours? The director's cut?
Yeah.
It felt it.
The director's cut is longer. I think the director's cut pushes more for 4.
And you're just like, man, no. Just stop, you're going to hurt yourself. You know? He did. He ended up like destroying the entire DC cinematic universe single-handedly. So
I won't put that all at Zack Snyder's feet though. I think there is a growing trend of, and I put Jurassic World and its sequel in this category too, of movies that come out that really don't know how to lead people's emotions. There's a fundamental disconnect between what the film is doing and saying and all that kind of stuff and how you're supposed to feel watching it. And even in the films I like Aquaman, I get now and again, I'm kind of like, wait, I understand what's happening, but what is this? What am I feeling? What are you doing?
Like, I understand what's happening, but why is it happening?
Yes, that's a better way of putting it. I think Dawn of Justice is the perfect sort of in a nutshell of that. Very, very big, long nutshell.
Yeah, but it's also there's a similar thing with Man of Steel as well, where you're just going like, why is this happening? Why is Superman just letting him fight him in the city? Why is he? Like, they seem to understand the character well enough to write good Superman dialogue at points, and then just forget about it for other points.
It's like that bit from The Simpsons where Rod's like, why is there ketchup coming out of the kitty's ears?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the reaction I have when I'm watching Man of Steel. It's like, why did Superman kill everybody? And it's just like, okay, you know. But look, I would say, you know, out of the Alan Moore movies, V is probably a much better time for people. And even still, you know, as you said, it is because it doesn't have that timeless age. Like, it was written during Thatcherism, as a direct result of Thatcherism. Now it was made in a time during Bush, and now it's never been more prevalent, you know, under time of like mass surveillance and.
And like the symbol for V is like they use that for, is it anonymous? Is that the hackers? Like, it feels like there's someone should be doing that.
They also use it for the anti-Scientology movement as well.
Exactly. So it feels like there's like an open goal here that they're not doing by adapting. Like,
the thing about it is, it's like it's timeless for a reason, you know. And I there isn't really a better way to make it, and I don't think you're going to be able to make it better than Hugo Weaving's performance, and Natalie Portman's really good in that
No.
So, you know, maybe give it, 10 years when something else comes along and things probably get worse, and it's like, oh, let's make this again, you know. But, look, as far as watching TV show goes, nah, I won't watch it. There's no point.
I did like the trailer. I think you brought up an interesting point of people who like Watchmen and have never read it. Like, I feel like lots of people, including Zack Snyder himself, don't get that Watchmen is both a deconstruction and a criticism of the superhero genre, and that was in the 80s, before the cinematic boom. Exactly. You could do a really good Watchmen taking down that culture now.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's what this is.
No, it's not. It exists. It's called The Boys, and it's on Amazon Prime.
Ah.
Like, they've already made that, sir. It's on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I've heard really good things about that, yeah.
The Boys is really good. Carl Urban's in it. I haven't got a chance to watch it. I did read the comics, so... I have Amazon Prime, so I'm going to watch it. Actually, I binge-watched the Purge TV show, which is very good, by the way. Yeah, it's called The Boys. Watch it. Carl Urban basically is the main character, and it's a similar kind of thing as Watchmen, where it's superheroes basically being dicks.
Also being kind of real people too.
Being real people, yeah, that's where it comes from. It's like, hey, look, I'm a superhero, but I have a life too. Please go away. I would put it to the interaction that wrestlers would have where they're being confronted by people. You know, where you have the John Cena response versus the CM Punk response. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. So I'm going to watch it. I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably watch an episode 2 after we finish recording. But Amazon Prime also has The Purge, which, if anyone's a fan of The Purge series, I am. I hated the third movie. It was terrible. First movie had a great idea, but was terrible, kind of. Second movie was great. It's more in the vein of the second movie, where it's more open world and it's like 10 episodes, so you get to spend 10 hours with these characters. A lot of good twists and turns. For what it is, man, if you like that world, it's a really, really fun world to explore. Now, it's harrowing. It's pretty graphic as well.
Amazon Prime also has, they acquired the best sci-fi show going on TV. I talked about it as well, The Expanse.
Yeah, I saw that. It's so good.
So damn good,
yeah,
if you haven't watched it.
The best show you've never seen.
You know what? Listen, here's the thing about Amazon Prime, right? It's one of those things where, like, I kind of forgot it was a thing. And then I'm like, hold on, because I use Amazon Prime because it's cheaper than shipping, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll watch this. And then go through it, I'm like, oh wow. These have, like, they have Mr. Robot as well, which the 4th season's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Oh, excellent.
But yeah, so it's kind of like, you know, if you have Amazon Prime, you're missing out. Like, to be fair, Amazon Prime is better watched than Netflix. And it's cheaper.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Amazon Prime, because we had a trailer for the new Star Trek Picard series coming out soon. Are you guys Star Trek guys at all?
I tried being a Star Trek guy, but I just I just can't devote the time to it.
I just can't, man. Like, my experience of Star Trek is, I watched a review of it there with Red Letter Media, where Jay was kind of like, yeah, I know Star Trek, kind of. And that's where I am. I'm kind of like on the Jay fence, where, like, I'm aware of Star Trek, and, you know, I watched The Next Generation, and I watched Voyager when I was, like, when I was a kid, and they were on Sky, like, all the time. Sky One just had...
Before The Simpsons.
Yeah, no, before The Simpsons, at night time, there was a block of Star Trek for, like, 6 hours on... So, by osmosis, I know a lot of it, but if you were to ask me, am I a fan of Star Trek, it'd be no.
Oh, I'm at the other end of the pool. I love Star Trek. I've seen most of the shows, go to all the Star Trek era events, and what I will say is the Picard series, it seems to be leaning very heavily into the established stuff. They've got a few returning characters like Seven of Nine from Voyager, Data from Next Generation, the Borg.
Oh, okay.
So they seem
Kane.
This does seem to be a love letter to the fans, and people seem to be very, very excited.
Kane, I need to stop you there, right? So, on a complete tangent, and I'm really sorry about this, but I need to share this with the world. So, there is a YouTuber called Mr. Medicare, right? Jim is also his name, right? And he's not so much YouTuber now. He's on streams on D-Live and stuff like that. But he does different streams. And one of the streams was on a crazy fan submission about, like, being in love with Data. And what happens on that is not safe for work. It's not safe for Twitch, so we're not going to talk about it. It's not safe for radio. But listen, guys, if you're an adult and you want to just watch the most crazy thing in the world, Jim will always help you out. But my God, I couldn't let this go. It's a dramatic reading of a children's tale about Data and something happening to Data that I'm not going to mention. But Check it out, guys. It is crazy. It's the craziest thing you'll ever hear. I swear to God. Sorry, continue.
If that's your experience of Star Trek, I can see why you're not a fan.
Okay.
But yeah, certainly, if I'm brave enough, I will certainly watch that. What's it called? Data Love Letter? Data.
Just type in Mr. Medicare and Mr. Medicare and the name of the actor who played Data.
Brent Spiner. Yes.
It will pop up. I promise you that.
I certainly will, but I'm just going to flag the Star Trek now because there are 5 Star Trek shows in development.
Holy cow.
So I think they're going to be making a power play for that Marvel attention in the next year or two. Whether they succeed, who will knows? But I think they're vying to be power players.
Well, I mean, the fan base is certainly rabid enough to warrant it.
Well, look, if this fan letter is to be believed, yes, they are quite rabid.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's I don't know. Look, I probably will watch the Picard one because all about all the buzz. But apparently, it's supposed to be more like Star Trek Discovery, which isn't good, or is it good, Kane? How did you feel about it?
I'm one of the people who like Star Trek Discovery. I can't remember if Star Trek Discovery it's controversial to like it or controversial not to like it.
Right.
But certainly, it seems to be more in the visuals. From what I can see, I think the writers of Star Trek Discovery aren't on Picard.
Oh, right.
So I think it'll just be visually it'll look like it. But Discovery is very ethereal and thematic and all that kind of stuff. This seems to be much more like the Next Generation movies. They're a bit more action packed and that kind of stuff.
Actually, I did see all the Next Generation movies actually as well, purely by osmosis, but they were pretty good. So I'll probably check it out. Oh my God, we have reached up to 50 the time now on this. I tell you, man,
Sweet.
This is the craziest hour. Like, and full disclosure, we had technical issues, so we kind of did this twice almost, but it still flew in. But for anyone who's listening on YouTube on Phoenix FM, we're going to try to do this every week on Twitch, so you're able to get it a couple of days earlier. So if you go over to Twitch and go to Nerdux, so NERDDUX on Twitch is where you can see our Twitch, or just go on the website nerdtomedia.com and just click the little Twitch button and it'll be there. We're going to try to hit every night at every Thursday at 9 p.m. and start streaming on that, and then of course you're able to get it on iTunes, Spotify and all that stuff as well. So yeah, it's working.
Yeah, we're here to stay, and we'll be at Comic-Con, in case you missed it last week, on the 11th of August, is that right?
Yeah, Sunday the 11th of August at 3 p.m. It's going to be fun, so we'll be there most of the weekend anyway, doing press for it, hanging out. But yeah, if you guys are going to Dublin Comic Con, make sure you're there at 3 o'clock because it's going to be something. I don't know if it's going to be good.
Informative.
It's going to be informative. Like it's our first time really doing it, so doing a panel, so we'll see what happens.
We'll have audience interaction. I'll certainly be there the whole weekend with my family. We're all dressing up as Doctor Who's, including my little baby. So certainly you'll see us coming. Put it that way.
It's always a great time. I'm just hoping that the weather kind of yields a bit, so we're not dying up on stage. But what we will do is, for anyone who doesn't make it and who's listening on the podcast, maybe I will make sure it's recorded and we will try to get video as well. But the best thing to do is to show up because we need your support, and the panel that we're doing requires audience interaction as well. So it's your time to kind of really push it.
It's your time to shine.
Well, it's my time.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, Darragh's going to bring his most controversial ideas.
Also,
I think we might actually have to get you my time.
For the team music? Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Keane, we have to school you up on wrestling, man, because a lot of references are going to go over your head.
This is literally what the panel will be about.
That's why you need to go see it live. If you see it live on the Sunday, you will see my awkward, blank, confused face. You won't get the benefit of that in audio if you catch it afterwards.
And we'll have slides as well, explaining terms for people who don't know.
It'll be
I will describe the slides as best I can, but I don't know anything about wrestling, so it'll be like Caped Man on fire.
You know what? That's better. I think that's better. If you're not a wrestling fan, go, because we need to convince you that everything is actually wrestling. So if you're not a wrestling fan, do come, because I think that'll be even better than if you are.
Darragh, do we have time very quickly to discuss the concept behind our event?
Yes, we do. We have 2 minutes. So, Bryn,
Go.
sell it to us. Come on, go.
Right. So the title is Literally Everything is Wrestling. The idea will be that Cian primarily will be presenting topics to go, how is this thing like wrestling? It could be anything on a grand scale, like something political, or it could be something on a very minute scale, like skin cells, and everything in between. And it's our job to try and show how something is like wrestling. The general idea here will be that you should learn something. Hopefully, it'll give you a bit of an insight into how much this weird art form can actually generate and espouse in terms of emotions. So it would be cool to talk about it. I was inspired by John Oliver saying that wrestling is better than the things you love, and I aim to prove that.
Excellent. Just to give an example to everyone listening at home, how is Shrek like wrestling?
Well, wrestling's in Shrek, for starters, is
there you go.
Probably the easiest thing.
So actually, that's a really good point. So we'll try and link, it can be abstract art, it can be Superman, it can be Harry Potter, to wind up Darragh. So have a think about topics that we can try and link back to wrestling. And in fact, hit us up online if you think of any ideas. They may make it into the event.
Yeah, and the way you can do it is pretty much Nerds Know Media all across the board. Nerds Know Media on Twitter, nerdsknowmedia@gmail.com, Nerds Know Media on YouTube, Nerds Know Media smoke signals, all that kind of stuff. There's no excuse to not get your topic.
Darragh @ I hate Harry Potter.
Oh god, that's a panel for next year.
Yeah.
Panel for next year. Anyway, guys, so we're going to wrap things up here now on Twitch. Thanks for checking us out. We'll be back next week at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night, and we'll also be every single week on Phoenix 92.5 FM at 5 p.m. every Saturday.